The final question relates to Lance Jenson's pre-contest training routine and diet. In the case of the pre-contest training routine, he was actually using the training routines just as you see them in the Ultimate Matrix. Obviously, in Lance's case, he'd been around a while. He had done some competition earlier in his life before he came to me. And he trained on Matrix for 1 year, which is actually essentially that 1 year program in the Ultimate Matrix with a few adjustments. So that's straightforwardly the answer to that part of the question. In terms of diet, I'll just let you know that Lance and I are co-authoring the 4th of the actual Matrix books with the last 12 of the techniques. We've now created some more techniques, or I've created some additional techniques, so it may be that we'll have another book after this, bringing it up to 60. But at the moment, we have 48, and we have introduced you to a number of those last 12 techniques. And Lance and I are going to be co-authoring the last of that series, at any rate, to bring us up to 48 techniques. And in it, we have a whole range of specific bodybuilding dietary programs, which are very detailed. Now, given the limitation in time, and given that it's coming out in the book, I'm not going to preempt a lot of what we say in the book. But I'll just talk to you about the diet. It's the gluconeogenesis diet. And this particular method of dieting, as a lot of you know, is to utilize fat as the major energy source. And the idea here is that our body is accustomed to utilizing glycogen as the primary energy source. So following the use of all glycogen stored in the skeletal muscle and the liver, the body begins to start to use fat from itself to provide energy for movement, thought processes, and body metabolism. I think most people who have looked into dieting in context of bodybuilding are aware of this. Now, by altering our intake of carbohydrate to post-workout, we begin actually to educate our body to utilize fat as that primary energy source. So it's not just a matter of knowing that that's what we should be doing, it's how exactly you do that best. Now, by avoiding continual spikes in insulin through carbohydrate foods, we control the equilibrium of the bloodstream. So, for example, what I mean by this is constant in cortisol levels, which assist us to maintain an anabolic growth environment for your training. When insulin is present in the blood, cortisol levels drop, as you would expect, actually, as we cannot have insulin and cortisol present in the blood at the same time. This is somewhat problematic as cortisol levels spike in an attempt to return to the median levels. And this means that the cells of the muscle are in a slightly catabolic, obviously a breakdown stage, that means. And in this case, the environment, when cortisol levels are high, causes some difficulty here. And we want to avoid this situation wherever possible by minimizing, as I said earlier, these spikes in insulin. And this means that we only take, and this is what I recommend, and Lance is certainly one of a piece with me on this, you'll see this in our book, that we only take carbohydrate post-workout when the body is functioning at 6 to 8 times normal metabolism. That's quite considerable. Now, during the first 60 minutes post-workout, the aim is to take in, for this a competitive bodybuilder now, this is the kind of stuff Lance was doing, right? Take in 60 to 100 grams of carbohydrate in the form of a carbohydrate protein shake. Now, our body needs to take in and absorb the carbohydrate in the 60 to 90 minute period, and therefore carbohydrate, as I'm sure most of you already know, in its simplest form is going to be best. Now, our body takes around 120 to 180 minutes to absorb things like rice, pasta, breads, and cereals, and therefore, from the point of view of a bodybuilder who's trying to cut up, not absolutely ideal for what is required to replenish the glycogen stores in the muscle itself. Now, a good quality carbohydrate protein drink is ideal, we believe, as the body consumes and absorbs this within 60 minutes, thereby replenishing glycogen stores post-training, placing your body in an anabolic growth phase. So the whole dietary system, in terms of the specifics of it, are based on this kind of thinking. We hope to have this book out within the next 2 months. Basically, the first draft is already completed, and it will go to the publisher, depending upon my own schedule, within the next few weeks. So keep your eyes open for it. It will be the 4th of the Matrix training books. So remember, it's the Matrix Principles number 1, Matrix for Muscle Gainers number 2, and the Ultimate Matrix is number 3. This will be number 4. Now, the other thing that's related to this is that a lot of people are writing in questions, which I find a little bit odd, which show that they haven't actually been reading the books. I spent an enormous amount of time in research over the last 40 years to set up this system. And it's very important to me that you utilize the books as an educational program in themselves. So if you do and you're actually following the routines as they've been tested, then it's a lot easier for me to be able to answer your questions if something isn't working. If you have diverted from that and you're using your own kind of routine and so on, then obviously the things that I've tested and trialed are not going to be as relevant for you as they would be if you're following them explicitly. I'll try to help you if you have a need which is different. I do admit that the particular matrix books are set up for people who generally come to weight training at an early stage as beginners, and then I provided for them a 4-year sequence program with this final book that allows them to work over 4 years with matrix, and then we'll show you how you can use this for the whole of your life. That's one of the next things we're doing. And the reason for this is that within this context of the 4-year period, each of them is set out in a particular way to gear you to your level of fitness. Now, in some cases, some people might, as it were, move very quickly through one and they realize that they try something else. But I note that a number of people who have written in are actually jumping from one book to another. And that's not going to give you the results that I've got. And so it's very hard for me to be able to help you effectively if you're not following the routines. The books are there. My suggestion is, if we're going to do this seriously, I'm going to do my responsibility in coming to give you this kind of information and speak to you personally and try to answer your questions personally. But then on your part, you have to take the responsibility actually to begin training as the books lay out the training so that I can see how effective it is for you within the context of the specific system that I've devised and tested for these purposes. So if we could have some reciprocal involvement in this way, it will make all this a lot easier. I can guarantee you that the people who come through the clinics here and are working with me see phenomenal changes in the body size, in their strength, and in their basic levels of body tone, being cut or being tight, or even weight loss. We have a lot of people who come here for weight loss. So there's a lot to talk about, and I would encourage people who are out there wondering, what does the system have to do for weight loss? We have over 100 cases of people, men and mostly women, who have come here who have wanted to lose weight. So probably the figure is about 60% women and about 40% men. And everybody who's come has gone away thinking this is just unbelievable because they've tried everything else before coming to Matrix. Usually they come when it's a last resort to Matrix training. But when they've done it, the results they see keep them here, and they see fantastic results. A lot of people do go away for a while to try other things, and that's fine and fair. But most of those people actually come back knowing that they don't get anything like what they get from Matrix training in the short time that they do it. So thank you very much for your patience in this first session. I look forward to your questions, talking to you more about your own problems, and I hope that this has been helpful for you. Ciao, till next time.
Not one of your lectures, 30 minutes, sir. Well done.
There you go, buddy.
Fantastic.
All right, well, that should help him.
Very much.